Bueno, what up, my Afro Latinxers? Um, Welcome back to another video. I have invited Uli to participate in this video because I made a previous video entitled "Is Dominican Culture Under Attack?" And I did make a claim on the video, which was false. And I, as a teacher, always, whenever I make a mistake, even with my students, I always own up to my mistakes. And I think it's very important that we do that because, you know, um, I'm just one person. I don't know everything. Um, and I am so delighted to have Uli with me because he was so kind to throw in all of these great resources. And I honestly, Uli, I really appreciate it because, there's some people that come into my comments and they're like, they use all their emotions and like not like a lot of rationale, and you didn't do that. You use a lot of logic and common sense and also data, which I appreciate, and that's why I was like, I have to have Uli on my channel
All right.
to explain all of this. And so the claim was that I had said that the law, which was, like you said, amended, right?
In the one in 2004.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
correct. It was amended, right?
Oh well, no, yeah, I refer various topics, and what the claim was that the law that was uh, um, created in 2004, the immigration law, first, was the one that abolished birthright citizenship in the Dominican Republic. And what I clarified was that actually happened in 1929. And when the Constitution was amended it was amended twice in 1929, one in January and one in June. And don't ask me why. I actually been trying to look for sources from that time, but I do not live in the Dominican Republic. If I was there, I would be able to go to a library and read newspapers from that time. They cannot explain why it was updated. I just know it was. And one of the things that was changed is that up until January of 1929, if you were born in the Dominican Republic, no matter what, you could be undocumented, you could be the son of a diplomat, that of a foreign ambassador, you have a right to Dominican citizenship if you want it. That was changed in June of that year, and it was an exception. A couple of exceptions were put in. Yes, if you're born in the country, you are Dominican. As said, one of them was if you are the child of a foreign diplomat, which is makes sense. The ambassador of the U.S. in the Dominican Republic have a child. I mean, he doesn't want it to be a Dominican. He wanted to be American, right? Uh, the other was foreigners that are in transit. It's kind of like that's, you probably, if you have been reading about Dominican immigration law, you probably have run into that term, in transit. And what that means, it's basically somebody that is in the country legally or not, but who do not intend to settle in the country. Let's say you go to Canada because you want to do some work, you want to do some investigation, and they give you a visa for 3 months. You are legal in the country, but you do not intend to settle in Canada. So that's what in the Dominican Republic is called in transit. And if you have a child, well, the child is not Dominican because you did not intend to settle in the country. So that's what the Constitution in 1929 said. But, and here's the problem: the the law that was the Constitution was amended, and then the government passed a law in 1939 outlining, okay, these are the immigration laws of the country, according to what the Constitution said, to conform to the Constitution. But it didn't address specifically, okay, what happens if somebody is undocumented in the country and have a child? Okay, yes, it's in transit, but what happened with the child? It didn't address that very clearly. And you know that in any law that things are not very clear, that opens a whole can of worms. And that and that's basically the genesis, to say it that way, of the difficulties that Haitian migrants, mainly in the Dominican Republic, have had through the years in regularizing their situation. Because yes, the law is clear that they do not have uh, birthright citizenship, but what do they have? And that created a lot of controversy. A lot of people sue and went to the government, and went every time they got to the court, they say, okay, according to the law, you're not Dominican, and basically they left it at that. They
Okay.
didn't.
So is it because so like the Haitians that were coming in, they were coming in without documentation basically.
Mhm,
And then when they had their children,
mhm,
because they have their children and there is no birthright law,
mhm.
they are not entitled for um, citizenship. But it's because they don't have documentation, right? Like kind of like if you come here to America, you have como una visa o algo así.
Mhm.
So is it the same like in DR? Would they have like do they have like visa programs in DR? And then like if you like you said before, if they are like if they're there working with intentions to stay, then they can access the citizenship if they have kids.
Well, it's if they have, it is very easy in the Dominican Republic. For example, if you're, for example, and that happens often. People go to the country like tourists, for example.
Yes.
They go in for 2 weeks supposedly, and never leave. And they say, okay, I like it. So they can regularize their situation and pay a fine or whatever. And yeah, but the situation in with migrants from Haiti is more complicated because a lot of them do not have documentation from their own country.
Okay.
That's the main issue. So you go to a civil registry office. Okay, my name is John Doe. Okay, Mister Doe, where are your documents? I, I don't have it. I mean, I don't have a document even from my own country to prove to you that my name is John Doe. So
Okay.
that's the main difficulty. The other is, we share an island. That and this is something that I point out a lot of time. The border is basically just on the map. Okay,
Mhm.
there are sections of the border and you can just scroll,
Yeah.
and people do it all the time.
Yeah.
If you go around the communities around the border, you will see that people cross from side to side whenever they need to. Uh, uh, and and for example, I know that, for example, farmers in the Dominican side of the border, that they rent their land to people from Haiti that pay them to use their land to grow some crops that they need, and they take it back to Haiti. That happens unofficially. Nobody knows about that officially. People know they happen because when you're talking about a community, you don't care that there is a line here that say, okay, this is Haiti and this is the Dominican Republic. No, I have business on this side and I have business on the other side, and that's usually how it works.
Mhm.
And and there is also the larger issue of corruption and exploitation in the country.
Yep.
You know, there the reason, and this is something I keep telling the people that complain about Haitian immigration in the Dominican Republic, the reason that they're here is because they want to work, one, and two, we want them to work for us.
Yes.
I mean, what do you expect to happen? I mean, I'm a father. I have a child, 9 years old. If I need to work, and you're telling me if I cross the border, even without paper, somebody's going to hire me.
Mhm.
I may I may like dislike the condition, but it's money, and I need it. I would do it,
Yeah.
and that's the thinking that people in Haiti that cross the border to work in the Dominican Republic have.
Mhm.
And so people that in the Dominican Republic that complain about the large number of migrants, they say, okay, well, the root of the problem is that you are employing them, and you are also breaking the law because the law said that you're not supposed to employ somebody that isn't documented in the country.
Mhm.
But the main people that violate that law are, very powerful people, well connected, even people in the government.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like people talk about immigration and the law and all that, and they ignore where all this originates. People are going to continue coming from Haiti to work because, as I say, they're going to find work. And if you do not provide them for a way to do so legally, they're gonna do it the only way. mm, the only way it works for them and for everybody, because like I said, everybody's breaking the law here,
Yeah,
especially the people that are employing them.
people that are employing them.
Mhm.
Okay. So so there is a way to get birthright citizenship there, but you have to have legal documentation in order to request that. So you need to have some paper saying this is who I am, in order to get birthright citizenship for your
Well,
uh,
no, not exactly. Yes, I was pointing out to the difficulty that Haitian migrants have because they don't have documents for their country, from their own country.
yeah,
For
but I'm
example,
talking about like like I know for Haitians it's harder because they don't have that
mhm,
because of because they come from Haiti and sometimes they don't have those papers. But like compared to like any other person coming
mhm,
in, let's say from the US or from
mhm,
China, people like that normally have their documentation. So
mhm.
if they come with intentions to stay, then it is going to be easier for them to get birthright citizenship for their children.
Well, for anybody who is legally settled in the country, and that's the legal definition, meaning is that yes, you apply for a visa because yes, I want to stay here. It's
Mhm.
kind of like the equivalent of the green card in the
Yeah.
US. The green card says you are authorized to live and work here. If you request a visa to live and work in the Dominican Republic and they give it to you, your kids are entitled to Dominican citizenship because you are not in transit. You are not here for a few months. No, I have the intention to settle here, and I'm signified that by asking for a visa for that purpose, and it was given to me. So if you have that, doesn't matter where you're from, you are now a legal resident of the Dominican Republic,
Okay.
and your child are entitled to Dominican citizenship. And you mentioned Americans. This is something that I have run across people, American tourists mainly, that they go to the Dominican Republic as tourists. Like I said earlier, oh, I'm just going to be here 2 weeks, but they like it and they say they start dating and they're asking, oh, I like that girl, and maybe I will, we're going to live together and have a child. And I warned them, look, you need to regularize your situation because what's going to happen unless the girl he marries a Dominican woman, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you marry a Dominican woman or Dominican man, okay, yeah, the child has Dominican citizenship because of one of the parents. But for example, you're in there, you're American, and you meet somebody from Germany, I don't know, who is on the same situation as yours, and you have a child. Well, that child is either going to be American, it's going to be German, but it's not going to be Dominican because officially that child does not have birthright citizenship because the fact that the parents are not uh, legally settled in the country.
Okay. So I wanted you also to talk about.
I can cannot hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. I wanted to talk about. You were talking about the FN.
P,
Hold
Fuerza
up.
Nacional Progresista.
Yes,
Mhm,
the FNP, the
mhm.
Fuerza Nacional Progresistas. Can you talk a little bit about them?
Well,
Um, so yeah, talk a little bit about them.
okay. So Fuerza Nacional Progresista is a Dominican party. Uh, Calling it right wing is an insult to right wing people, to be honest, because
Like
it was founded by this. Yeah,
like here in the US,
excuse me.
like the Republicans here in the US.
No, no, no. Like
Would you compare them?
I'm talking about way to the right of the. I mean, those are the people that like to talk about a Haitian invasion. They claim that there are like 2 million Haitians in the country or something like that. Uh,
Mhm.
those type of and they were founded in by a man named Vincho Castillo. I don't know if you have heard that name, but that guy it goes way back to the Trujillo. Yeah, I think his son is now in charge of the party, but his I don't know. I don't even. I don't know if he's dead, but probably he had to be. I mean, he's from the Trujillo era. That's when he started his career, and he was a deputy in the during the Trujillo era. And if you were a deputy or somebody in the government during the Trujillo era, it's because you were in his party, okay? Because that's the way it was. And back then, he didn't tolerate the opposition, and he has always been very right wing and very anti espousing anti Haitian
Mhm.
rhetoric. And like I said, they're always talking about invasions and things like that.
Yeah.
And my concern is that every time that people talk about people that complains about the immigration problem in the Dominican Republic, they always focus on people like that, which I
Mhm.
don't think is fair because those people are not representative of the great majority of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I show you the results of the last election. That party just got like 8,000 votes out
Mhm.
of 4 million cast. So that's the definition of very marginal view. And yeah, my concern is that people tend to focus on that, and people that espouse this kind of rhetoric, and they kind of think that try to make it pass as if this is how Dominican feel. No, no, we don't. And it's reflected in the lack of popularity of that particular party.
Yeah, I saw that you did mention that they're not, um, they don't get a lot of support from the majority of the Dominican population. Um, but I guess my question is like, um, so would you say that like I don't know, like why would they and I understand that most Haitians that do come into the country don't have the legal documents for them to be in the country. I
Mhm.
get that, and that's why when they stay and have children, um, they're not entitled to the citizenship, the
Mhm.
children. Um, but like because the country knows that, like why? I guess my question is why would they? I guess take away citizenship from Haitians of Dominican descent? Like, why would they do that? I guess that's my question. Like knowing that Haiti doesn't provide their own people with like the correct documentations to be able to immigrate to a different country. Like, I guess that's my question. Like, why would they do that?
Well, you're talking about you most likely talking about the ruling that came in 2013 that
Mhm.
a lot of people allege that took away the citizenship of the number I hear is keep hearing is 250,000 Dominican of Haitian ancestry.
Mhm.
When that ruling came out, you probably remember back then there was a huge controversy and it was all over the media. And this was what was reported. It was claimed that the Dominican government took away the citizenship of 250,000 Dominicans of Haitian ancestry.
Yes.
Some people were even more radical. They say, "Oh, they took it away because they were black." They just put it out as that. And you know, when that happened, a lot of people in the Dominican Republic, they got really upset and about the way it was portrayed. Even people that are very pro-Haitian in the sense that they have been helping Haitians in the country to settle and defend their civil rights and even go to Haiti to help them in difficult situations.
Mhm.
People say, you know what, that's not what happened. And what happened, what the ruling actually did, and the ruling came about because of a woman. Her name, I actually have the document here. Her name is Julia Degis. Let me see. Hold on a second. I was reading on the case lately. Juliana Degis. She was a woman. Her parents were Haitian migrant workers that came in supposedly, like I said earlier, supposedly to work temporarily.
Mhm.
And if you come to the country to work temporarily, you are supposedly in transit
Yes.
because you do not intend to settle in the country. But the reality, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
They are brought in, most of them as as worker, as migrant workers, but they end up staying because no, they keep being employed and nobody's kicking them out.
Yeah.
So what happened? they have a child, Miss Juliana Dequis, in 1984, and they went to the civil registry office and they to ask for a birth certificate, and they this civil registry officer gave it to them, even though according to the law they did not were
Right.
entitled to one because
So they
there
were
was,
not qualified to. She was not.
legally speaking, they did not qualify.
Okay.
But as I said, the law at that time in 1984 was the same law that was passed in 1939.
Hmm.
That was not clear enough about, okay, what happened when somebody's in the country undocumented, meaning in an irregular manner, let's call it that way, and they have a child. The law wasn't clear about that. And they went, they were not trying to defraud the system. They didn't know. They thought, okay, this is what I had to do to get a birth certificate, and it was given to them. So from there on, this woman, she was used. You need the birth certificate in the Dominican Republic for a lot of things.
Yes.
And she kept using her birth certificate. She had childs, and she and all the regular stuff that you needed for she used it. So to her, it was a valid birth certificate until she got to a time. I think she was trying to register one of her childs, and they said, oh, you know what? No, this is not a valid certificate. Then years afterward, this woman grew up in the country, thinking she's Dominican. Years afterward, this person telling, no, this is not a valid birth certificate
Hmm.
because the birth certificate said it's very clear that her parents were Haitians and they didn't have the Dominican ID. So it was clear by looking at it that it wasn't, but she went through all her life using this document and nobody told her that it was not a regular document. So they took it away from her. And I'm trying to summarize here, but she sued. She filed a lawsuit. Okay, no, but my rights are being violated. Uh, Ended up in the Constitutional Court, which is kind of like the Supreme Court in the Dominican Republic.
Hmm.
And the court ruled against her in that sense. Uh, the ruling says very clearly, according to your birth certificate, your parents were from Haiti. They were not regularly settled in the country. So that's why you are wrong in the sense your suit had no merit in the fact that you were this birth certificate that you claim is not a regular one. But and this is the part that everybody focus on, and this is the part that you read in the press. Even the New York Times reported that way. That yes, she and 250,000 people were have their birth certificate declared invalid, uh, which is for not only if it happens to her, but at the same time, the court recognized, okay, it's not her fault because her parents, uh, they were not regular citizens, but they were giving us a document anyway, and you cannot really blame her because of that. And the court basically ordered the civil registry office, okay, you're gonna give the plaintiff Juliana Teguis a document that states that she have a right to be here in the country, and in the government, the Dominican government was ordered to prepare a plan to regularize the status of people that were undocumented in the country, the people that were in the same situation that she was.
Yeah.
And that's something that the Dominican government had to do based on the law that was passed in 2004, the one that you were referring to in the video.
Okay.
That law had an article that said the government had to put in place a plan to, similar to the amnesty program that they are talking about here in the U.S.
Yeah.
for undocumented migrants. The government has to put a plan to regularize the status of the people that are here, that have been living in the country for a long time, and who are undocumented. I mean, they have proven that they are, good people, good citizens. The only problem is that they don't have papers. Well, we need to address that. The law in 2004 was supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Well, as it happened in the Dominican Republic, the Congress, was not in a hurry to do anything about it
Yeah.
until this happened in 2013. This lawsuit came into the Supreme Court, and they basically told the government, okay, enough of this. You actually have to do something to take care of the situation of this woman and everybody that you can find in the civil registry that is in the same situation. and they order the civil register. You need to do an audit and check all your books, find out everybody who is in the same situation as this woman.
Okay.
Basically, they are, yes, they have documents that were issued to them in an irregular manner. That's what you will hear all the if you keep reading about this. They talking about irregular manner.
Mhm.
Yes, and you have to put them on a list. And once the regularization plan is in place, that's how they call the amnesty. They have to be provided with proper documentation that say, okay, yeah, this is we are here recognizing you, grant that you are basically a Dominican citizen, even though you were issued documents that that were not valid, but if it was proven that there was no intention to defraud the system, because that's basically how the court put it in, you deserve to you are recognized as a Dominican citizen. That's basically what happened, and that ruling affected like 10,000 people, more or less, and most of them were dead because they went back to 1929, and 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 yeah, but all they could find got issued new papers that
Mhm.
were officially recognized. Okay, this is your official birth certificate from now on. They
Mhm.
took away the other ones that you have, and that's where the claims that they took away the citizenship of 250,000 people. That's where it comes from.
Okay. And do you know anything about the parents of those children?
How's that?
So do you know anything of the parents? Like, were the parents like allowed to stay and get paperwork, or no, it was just the children?
No, I don't. I haven't read, and I have to look. That's something that I want. I don't know if the parent, for example, of the woman that filed the suit are alive or not. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, and yeah, that's a good question. What happened with the parent? But it wouldn't make sense to to deport them or anything if allowing their children to stay. I honestly don't know about that.
I mean,
And like I said, they went back to 1929. So most of the people that were affected by this were dead. I know this because I read a news item about it. It said, most of the people that were to be issued new documents, they didn't came looking for them
yeah.
because they, like I said, a lot of time has passed since that. This ruling came out in 2013, and the law came in 2014, 2015.
Hmm.
And going back to 1929, you're talking about 70 years or so. If I
Yeah. Yeah. So then you don't think at all that um like the issues that they have with like um I guess with Haitians coming in or like going back, you don't think any of it has to do with anti-Haitianism?
well, there is anti-Haitianism. I mean, we've seen them. The FNP people are a good are proof of that. There are
Hmm.
people like that. The point that I made, that those are not mainstream views in the
Yeah.
country, and
Hmm.
and this is that's why one of the things that your video inspired me to look into it, because I never occurred to me. Okay, has anybody actually done a survey asking Dominicans what do you think about this in the the problem of Haitian immigration?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was able to find a survey that was on in 2018. Like I said, it was basically based on electoral time. It was 2 years before the election. You know that in the Dominican Republic, the election every 4 years for politics is all the time. It's like here in the U.S.
Yeah.
It never stopped.
Yep.
So they were asking about many issues regarding the upcoming electoral campaign. Who do you favor? And one of the issues, one of the questions that usually asked is, what do you think are the biggest problems in the country?
Hmm.
And in first place, it was corruption. That's always been the biggest issue with Dominicans, and more so in the last few years, as the country has, things have improved in the country, and it's undeniable that the country there has been progress in the country. It's
Hmm.
still a poor country, but it's not as bad as it was before.
Yeah.
And as people get more wealthy, the people in the middle class, I pay taxes here, and the government still half of it. I mean, so corruption is a big problem.
Yeah.
The crime and the economics is like low wages and things like that. And in fourth place, uh, illegal immigration from Haiti.
Mhm.
And, about 14% consider that a problem. So yeah, there are people that mm, are concerned about illegal immigration, but you cannot say that just because they are is because they are anti-Haitian.
Mhm.
The thing that a lot of people do not seem to realize, which is, and it should be obvious, the Dominican Republic, as a poor country, do not receive a lot of migrants except from Haiti,
Yeah.
and it's for a valid reason. We share an island,
Yeah.
and if you are in Haiti and you want to improve your situation, the easiest way to do it is just cross the border, and a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, they know that they're going to get job, and they know that they're going to be somebody's going to hire them, and so to the people that keep complaining about Haitian immigration, that's why I respond to them. Okay, if you keep giving the job, they're gonna keep coming.
Yeah.
And if you engage in a conversation, they say, "Oh, but they come to the country to do works that Dominican do not want to do." They say, "Really?" Because I always push back against that argument that when it comes to illegal immigration, they are doing jobs that nobody else wants to do. That might be so for some cases, but the fact is that the people that are employing them are not doing it because they want to hire them. They just want to hire them because they know they can pay them less that
Yeah.
they will pay a Dominican.
Yep.
So it's part of the power dynamic that you have,
Mhm.
that you just taking advantage of somebody that you know will work for you for less than than they should, than or that they could, because I mean they're undocumented in the country, and they do not have a lot of leverage, to ask and say, okay, yeah, I want to work for the minimum, at least for the minimum salary, and I want you to pay my social security and everything that anybody is supposed to get in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so would you continue to say that, I guess, that it wasn't put in place or amended in 2004, so that, like, so that, because I was talking about change and under attack, right?
Mhm.
Remember?
Mhm.
And my whole purpose was to clarify to everybody that, like, people from the outside are not attacking our culture.
Mhm.
I don't really believe that. Like I said in the video, I do really believe that it's changing only because culture changes.
Mhm.
That's just natural. That's the natural part of what culture is.
I agree.
So um I feel like there is, like you said, there is a small group of people, the nationalists, the FFNP, um, who do feel strongly about, Haitians coming in. However, they don't have a big, control over the whole population. Um,
They do have a lot of money because they're very economically powerful.
mhm,
So yeah, they politically they might not be very influential, but economically, yeah, because one of the things that you will notice is, for example, if you look at the Dominican elections,
mhm,
that particular party will throw their support behind one of the two major political parties.
mhm,
Why the two major political parties will look for support from them? The only explanation had to be money. I mean, who pays for those? Like I said, they probably pay for all the political campaigns or the mainstream political parties. I mean, because I mean that I don't know this for a fact. I just want to
mhm.
make clear and just
Yeah.
this is my theory.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
because what else could they be? They don't have votes, so what else could they provide to the major political parties so that they will look for their support?
Yeah.
It has to be money.
So, like, I mean, and again, I don't have, you know, proof of this, but could you say, or can we say that because they have like high, I guess, financial power, um, in the Dominican Republic, um, don't you think that they can be a little bit influential towards like the amendment of the policies or who they target it to. Because just like for me, it's like, because you know Haiti's situation, right? Like everybody knows Haiti's situation. Granted, not everybody in the Dominican Republic is anti-Haitian,
Mhm.
but because they know it, like because they know the situation, don't you think that, like, knowing what's going on, don't you think that, like, that party, that small party, can have a big, like, influence on the rest of the country or the rest of the government, so that they do target Haitians?
Well, that's a good argument. But the thing is that you had to look at the results, what that law actually did. Because
Yeah.
if they thinking like they do, if they really want to use their power to stop Haitian migration, what they will do is, okay, I will support you, but you're gonna build a wall in the border
Yeah.
or something like that, something very draconian that say like, I will support you, but you're gonna have to go after the people that are in the construction business and the farmers that are employing Haitian migrants.
Hmm.
That's what I would expect them to do if they really wanted to stop what they call the Haitian invasion and the changing of our culture. But that's not what the law did. The
Uh-huh.
law did, and it mandated in one of the articles, was that you had to put in place what they call the plan, a regularization plan, basically an amnesty program, so that the people that are in the country undocumented but who have lived in the country for a really long time get the chance to regularize their situation.
Okay.
I mean, if the law do that, you cannot. Given that most of the migrants in the Dominican Republic are from Haiti,
Yeah.
you can. I don't think you can argue that the law is anti-Haitian. Well, it will end up benefiting them, and that's one of the points that I keep making. Most of the migrants, and you show it in your video,
Yeah.
most of the migrants in the Dominican Republic, 87% come
Yep.
from Haiti.
Yep.
So any law that is passed by the Dominican government, good or bad,
Hmm.
will have a bigger impact on them.
Yeah.
And this is not that's a reality when it comes to immigration in the Dominican Republic. Most of the migrants are from Haiti for obvious reasons. We share an island. There, we are a little better here on the Dominican side than over there. So, and people, and like I said, like I keep saying, they know they can get jobs.
Yeah.
Lately, there's been an increase of migrants from Venezuela. Again,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons, you know that they are in a difficult situation. Uh, the number is close to 100,000. So any law that any changes to the law in immigration with the Dominican Republic will have a big impact in Venezuelans and Haitians,
Yes.
and because that's a reality. It's like here in the United States, the largest group of migrants are from Mexico. So any
Mhm.
change in the law will affect Mexican more than any other group for obvious reason. It doesn't mean that the law's actually targeting them. It's just this is how it is.
Um, I feel like
And
the
by the
law,
way,
the law
the,
targets, the
the
law
law
targets,
is
I feel like here in the US, the law targets is specifically people from Central America,
mm,
um, and people from Haiti, because Haiti is one of the biggest populations that um, are sent to these detention centers too. We don't really talk
mm,
about that, but
mm,
they are one of the biggest here in the US. So I
mhm,
do think that it is racially motivated here in the US. Not to say that it doesn't affect other people that come in.
mhm.
I just think, yes, because people from Central America migrate here more, it does affect them more. But I do think it does tie back to xenophobia, and racism,
Mhm.
definitely here. Um, and
Well,
I guess for me in DR, um, I guess we can't at all attribute it to anti-Haitianism. It is a lot more complex,
mhm.
as you already like explained. Um, but yeah, would you like to add anything else, Uli?
Well, yes, I think because the biggest issue here is economic exploitation.
Yeah.
Sorry, exploitation. My English is failing me. Basically, taking advantage of somebody who you know it's in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
I mean, because like we know the how the situation in Haiti and all governments. And well, let's make a pause here. We have a new government that from a new party. It's basically a recycle party, but they took power in August last year. So I'm giving them a pass for now because let's see what they're doing. They're making good move. We're in the middle of this pandemic, which is
Yeah.
basically has the focus of all the governments in the world. That's the main priority right now. And corruption, and I like what he's doing in regarding corruption. But uh, the other day he made an announcement on wasn't February 27th, the day of the that we celebrate independence. He has to do basically the Dominican equivalent of the State of the Union, right? So he announced that they're going to build a border, a border wall, a wall in the border.
Yeah.
And somebody sent me a link about that with the comment, look, another Trump, and making jokes out of making the Haitian pay for it. And they say, okay, come on. People like to make jokes about everything, but I don't think a wall is the best solution for the situation.
Mhm.
I mean, the best approach for me is for both government to work together in issues of common interest.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, and I kind of understand why he has to do this. Is right now, if you read the news, right now Haiti is again going through a very difficult situation.
Mhm.
The current president, there is a dispute. He can wants to stay 1 year more in
Yeah.
government. That where he said he claims that no, because there was a problem when he was elected. He's entitled to 1 more year, and you have kind of like a constitutional crisis in Haiti right now. They basically all most of the parliament uh, are is out because they come their terms were over, and now the president is basically governing by decree and doing whatever he wants, and the people in Haiti are uh, you know uh, worried that he may want to become another dictator. And so, if you read the news about Haiti, that's what's in the news right now. So there is with Haiti in this difficult situation, the Dominican government really doesn't have anybody that they can discuss these matters with, and that has always been the problem. And well, let me rephrase that. That will have been the problem. It said that the instability in Haiti always benefit the people in power in the Dominican Republic that want to take advantage of that.
Mhm.
Because again, it all goes back to this. They want to exploit Haitian laborers for because they know they can pay them less than they pay Dominicans. Sometimes they don't even pay them. It's very common that somebody will hire a group of Haitians to work on a farm or anything, and at the end of the crop, uh, instead of paying them, they will call somebody at one of their bodies in immigration. Hey, I have a bunch of Haitian migrants here, and they will grab them and deport them, and not even paying them. And that's you see a lot. There's a lot of interviews of Haitians that are being deported that they say that look, I was working with this guy and he didn't pay me. That happens. Not often, but it does. But
Mhm.
that ought to tell you how difficult the situation is for Haitian in the country that are working.
Mhm.
And I think that is a bigger problem and worthy of attention than the racial angle because they're taking advantage of. By the way, they have done this to Venezuelans as well. When the number of Venezuelans started increasing in the country because of the difficult situation, there were reports on the media of people that were from Venezuela that were done. They were doing to them exactly the same thing. They were offering a job. Once the job was completed, they will call immigration. Hey, this guy is here illegally, so that they will take them away. So it's not only to the Haitian. It's just a naked attempt to exploit people. That's what happened, and I think that's the problem that really needs to be addressed. Because okay, if we need them, okay, fine. Instead of doing the migrant worker thing, I'm gonna bring them here to work in this particular farm, which I think is dangerous because it basically ties you up to a particular job, and that person controls you. Basically, it's not a slavery, but it sounds like it when you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's you of your stay in the country to working for this guy, you have to pray that this guy is an honest person, otherwise, you're screwed.
I definitely do think it's a lot of corruption. I am with you on that. But I also do think that like even for them to do that to like Venezuelans, like to me, like if you're not gonna do that to like people from your own country, right? You're not gonna do that to like Dominicans. Like to me, like even though Venezuelans are not black, they're Venezuelan. So that's a little bit xenophobic, in my opinion. Like, why would you do that to people? Like, unless you don't respect them, because, and to me, it sounds like, well, because you're not Dominican, like, I'm gonna treat you this way. And to me, that's like a little bit xenophobic.
Well, I don't doubt that there are people that are like that, but most of the motivation is the wish to make a quick buck. I mean, the reason why the main problem according to Dominican is corruption is
Yeah.
because that is the root of that type of behavior. Somebody who does that to a human being has no morals. That's basically what it is. You know that they are desperate. You know that they had to go from get out of the country because of the situation, and you are taking advantage of that to make money. So what kind of monster are you to do that?
Well, really, to me, like anything that takes advantage of people comes from a power dynamic.
Hmm.
And whenever you look at like the history of power dynamics, they stem from these isms. They all stem from racism, xenophobia, like they all from sexism, like anything that requires somebody to have power over another person,
Mm.
it stems from our past and the past systems that we've had. Like again, I'm not saying that like everybody like intentionally is like, oh, like I hate this person because they're from Venezuela, or I hate this person because they're from Haiti. However, I do think that sometimes like it's I guess it's like sometimes it's so like detached that
Mm.
we don't like to bring it all together and say like yes it's corruption, but it's also xenophobia and it's also racism. And I get like um we don't want to like make it only about that.
Mhm.
But I do think they all have a connection.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I do think that they're all connected in some kind of way. I guess that's my point.
Mhm.
um
No, no,
but I,
and it's a valid point, and you could be right. The thing is, with me personally, I don't like to I like to focus on what I can prove.
yeah,
If I know you did this to this person, I really don't care why you did it. It's wrong,
yeah,
and that's the end of it.
yeah,
You took advantage of this person. It could be, yeah, you're xenophobic. You don't like women. You don't like black people. That could be the reason. But I'm
right,
focused on the fact that what you did and it's wrong, and that's what we as Dominican had to look at.
yeah,
Look, we cannot. I think it's shameful because basically taking advantage of people that are desperate. I mean, it, in the case of Venezuela, when Venezuela was very prosperous in the 70s, there were thousands of Dominicans going over there to work. They help us. They help us during Trujillo. Trujillo even tried to kill the president of Venezuela with a bomb in 1959 or 1960 or something like that. That's how much the Venezuelans helped us. The Trujillo actually tried to kill their president. So doing that to them, it's double worse. And same with Haiti. They help us in the past. A lot of people focus on the negative aspect of the history between both our countries, which I think some of it is exaggerated. People talk about the Haitian invasion. Oh, they went to war with us. Yeah, the last battle was in 1856.
mhm,
That was before the Civil War in the U.S. That far, okay. So stop talking about that, okay? It's history. Yeah, you should know about that, but then don't make it so like you think that the Haitian army is going to drive across the border,
yeah,
because that's not going to happen.
yeah,
And yeah, and a lot of people does not focus, and the good thing that happened between our countries. That's something that's one of my pet peeve. Like I keep complaining that every time somebody writes in about the Dominican Republic and Haiti, the first thing they need to talk about the tension between our countries. Okay, so I asked, what tension are you talking about? I mean, are we about to go to war or something? Because I just don't see it.
yeah,
And this is something that is not covered in the media outside of the country, but our government, they hold regular meetings to discuss issues that are common to us. on the environment, on trade. They don't do much actually, but at least they're talking,
Yeah.
and on the economic front, yeah, they have been progress because we are or one of our biggest trading partners. I think Haiti is the third largest trading partner of the Dominican Republic after the U.S. and Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
So there, there's money to be made, and you can see it. I mean, one I was watching a video the other day from this guy that was traveling across the border, around the border in a motorcycle, and he noticed that even in the in smallest towns in the Dominican side, the stores were fully stacked with a lot of products.
Mhm.
That when you look around, you say, okay, who's buying this? There are only like 2 or 3 houses around here. Who is who is it, who is buying this? And when they ask, oh, well, people from Haiti, they cross here, they cross and come and buy. So that's trade that is happening. The Haitian government always want to regularize that because they lose in revenue. They would like to tax that, but they cannot do it. So that's one of the things that both countries talk about, but it's not covered in the international media. When Haiti, the earthquake in 2010, the Dominican Republic offered a lot of help. When there was the cholera outbreak, you remember the cholera outbreak in Haiti?
Yeah.
Around 10,000 people died in Haiti. And there
Mhm.
were people calling, okay, we need to cross the border to prevent that from coming here. But what happened? It's an island, okay? You cross the border, it's not going to go away. It's
Yeah.
going to remain there. It's going to be worse.
Yeah.
So the Dominican Republic did not cross the border, and they helped Haiti to work to control the cholera outbreak.
Mhm.
500 people died of cholera in the Dominican side of the border. So that's something that people don't see. I mean, we live in an island and we work together,
Yeah.
and I think that's an important story that people need to put out because in all it. That's why I object when you talk about the xenophobia, anti-Haitianism, anti-Haitianism, because okay, if there's so much hate, how do we manage to cooperate that much? Uh,
Yeah. I don't think that. I don't think
Sorry,
that.
but I cannot hear you when you were kind of far away from the screen.
Sorry. I don't think that. I don't think definitely that the whole country feels that way.
Mhm,
I do think that there's a couple of people, a few people in the country that do, spew that rhetoric. And I do think that it does transcend past the Dominican Republic, where you see people here in the US, Dominicans,
mhm,
that, have the same rhetoric,
mhm,
right? I do think that it transcends past the DR and then it comes here. And you hear Dominicans just from here just saying the most weirdest things about
mhm,
Haitians. Again, that's not all Dominicans, and I want
mhm,
to make that clear because people be thinking that I'm talking bad about DR all the time, and it's not.
mhm,
But um, uh, yeah, I do feel like there is, just a few group of people that make us look bad,
mhm.
and yeah,
No, yeah, and the problem is those people have a really loud megaphone,
yeah,
and it's like uh, and it's the negative always calls attention. And
yeah,
let's be honest here, even stereotypes like that, they have some grain of truth. There are people there are actually people like that, and there are people who say those things because they are xenophobic, and there are
yeah,
others because they do not know better. It's more than once in the Dominican Republic, I heard somebody use the word Haitian as an insult against a black Dominican. I don't know if you've seen that, but it will be a dispute or whatever against one person who is happen to be very black. Oh, you Haitian, which is double offensive. You mean to insult? You're insulting him, and you're insulting the Haitian people.
yeah,
What? It's really what are you doing here? Those things happens, and let's. My point to that is the country has been improving as the economy grows. We are more educated right now,
yeah,
and I noticed the difference
yeah,
compared to how it was when I was growing up. I mean, you probably heard me say that when I was in the Dominican Republic, I watching TV. The channel I used to watch a lot. Everybody was white. When you look at the news, everybody was white. when you look at the commercial for credit cards or card, whatever, you will think that the only ones who could buy a car or a house were white people.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. I was a child. I didn't think about those things. It's something that came up later when I became more conscious about, you know what, this is kind of weird because we're mostly, of African ancestry. So what are they telling us? I cannot buy a car or I cannot read the news. That had changed.
Yeah.
The Dominican Republic right now, when you look at the TV, you look at advertisement, and people have become more conscious. Okay, we have to. This is who we are,
Yeah.
and people. Somebody, for example, when I was in school, you could not go to school with that hairstyle that you
Yeah.
they were gonna make. Oh no, you had to wear, the moños,
Yeah.
the pigtails. They will send you home.
Hmm.
That doesn't happen anymore. But
I don't think that doesn't happen. I do think it still does happen, just
no,
not as
it does. It does. Like I said, it won't go away overnight.
yeah.
But people are getting more conscious about that.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that there is a bigger movement towards accepting our roots,
Hmm.
and that is changing. I'm very happy that that is happening.
No, but
um,
yeah, let me tell you something very interesting. When was it? This was in 2016 or so. National Geographic, along with an American university, a Dominican university, and the Dominican Academy of History, they did what they call a genographic study.
yes.
What they did, they sent a bunch of researchers around the country to visit Dominican communities that they are towns that are representative of the country
Hmm.
to do a DNA test
Yeah.
to find out where do the people from the Dominican Republic come from. And it was a very scientific survey,
I think
and
I.
they only tested Dominican that have been in the country for more than three generations because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that are newcomers. And anyway, when they announced the results, they find out that on average, if you pick a Dominican, it's at least any Dominican is on average half black
Yeah.
by ancestry,
Yep.
and the other percentage it was 36% European. The mix basically,
That's
something like that.
exactly my breakdown.
Exactly, but they only released a summary of the uh, of the story,
Yeah.
which in itself was revelatory. Okay, yeah, it revealed what we all knew, that we are mostly black, right?
Yeah.
But they never released the story.
Mm.
And I wonder why. So I got in touch with one of the guys that was mentioned in the story through Facebook, and he told me, "Oh yeah, it's in the newspapers." And I say, "Oh yeah, but they only have a summary. They don't have the story." "Oh yeah, that's what's available." I say, "Okay." So I got in touch with. I have my contacts. So I have a friend that work at the university that carry out the stories. You probably heard of UNIBE, Universidad Interamericana.
Uh-huh.
It's a very big university in the Dominican Republic. So I talked with this person. I tried to get a copy of this study, and they told me that they don't want to. What's the deal with that? This person told me whoever paid for the study is who decides if it's released or not.
Mm.
So I understood that to mean somebody very influential does not want the people to know that, which is ridiculous. So that I hear you talking about people that are anti-black, and you kind of wonder why would you hide the results of a study like that? It's it's scientific, right?
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Hmm.
So, I don't know, more important, I try to use the summary of that study
Hmm.
to document the Wikipedia article on the Dominican Republic.
Hmm.
I try to put it in, and in Wikipedia, everybody can edit. Every time I put it, somebody will take it down and say, "No, it's not
Ooh.
valid." And I said, "Okay, but." So there are people. I thought that's a very strong evidence that there are people that they really don't. They want to consider the narrative anti-black narrative in the country. There are people like that. It's not only the FNP. There are people that obviously are drinking the Kool-Aid, to use the American terminology regarding
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
No, keep going. Go ahead.
no, meaning it, yeah, you're not very far away. There are people like that, and
Yeah.
and we had to speak out. Basically, there's no other and pointed out, "No, man, you're wrong."
Um, so I wanted to ask you one more thing before I let you go because I don't want to stay here forever. But you did get to see the part where I spoke about where I compared Spain, Spanish rule
Hmm.
with Haitian rule.
Hmm.
Do you remember that part in the
Yeah,
video?
yeah, I did.
What do you think about my analogy in terms of like, I guess like I guess like how people compare it? Because um anytime we talk about like the Spanish, people will say, well, the Haitians did this. So for me, my argument is like, how can you compare the two and what they did and dare call on both independence and then um celebrate your independence from Haiti, but call it restoration from Spain. And yes, I understand that we've had several independence, but it's like, how can you compare it? Like, I don't know. Like, what is your take? What do you think about that?
Well, I heard that part of the video, and I the thing is, both dates are significant and both dates are celebrated. I mean, there are people who claim that the Dominican Republic do not celebrate independence from Spain, and we do. And I think you were pushing back against the use of the restoration of independence, but that's basically what happened. The country uh, got its independence from Haiti in 1844.
Mhm,
And a lot of people say, "Oh, but why do you celebrate the independence from Haiti?" Well, it's just the Dominican Republic did not exist until then. That's when the country was founded, 1844. When the country first got its independence in 1821 from Spain, it was called what they call the ephemeral independence because it lasted just a few weeks.
mhm,
The last governor under the Spanish rule declared independence, and the name of the country at that time was Spanish Haiti, the Republic of Spanish Haiti, and he wanted to join Colombia. You know, at that time there was the Republic of, we call it today Gran Colombia, but Colombia at that time has Venezuela and Ecuador and what is now Panama. It
mhm.
was kind of like a federation, and the goal supposedly was to join that federation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, not a lot of people were in favor of it. Some wanted to continue to be a Spanish colony. Others wanted to be a French protectorate because at that point France was in the midst. But most of the people were non-white, were like you and me,
Yeah.
and Haiti was the only one that was offering uh, equality under the law, which at that time was people like you and I. We couldn't even expect to have that on the Spanish rule
Yeah.
or any other country. In fact, the people, some of the people that wanted to join Colombia, their motivation was to protect slavery because they knew at that point, even though Simon Bolivar promised Haiti in exchange of help to fight their independence, that they will free the slave. But at that point, there were forces in Colombia that said, "No, we don't want to do that." So part of the motivation to join Colombia in 1821 was to preserve slavery. So you can hate it made a more powerful argument. Hey, we're going to give you equality under the law. We're going to abolish the slavery, and
Mhm.
that's why the union with Haiti happened in February 1822, just a few months after, just a few weeks after independence from Spain was declared. So
Mhm.
you know that that day is not significant for Dominicans because the country that was founded, Spanish Haiti, no longer exists, and most people didn't want that to happen. Most of the people that counted at the time choose union with Haiti.
Mhm.
That lasted 22 years,
Yeah.
but it didn't work out. I mean, we can go on for it's a subject worthy of its own video. The union between both countries, why it
Yes.
happened and why it ended.
Well,
Uh,
the thing is that like if there were so much people who supported the unification, and then after after we were separated, um, even though there were still people that supported the unification, but they were not with what Boyer was trying to do, imposing all those taxes. Like, why call it? independence? Because for me, it holds a very strong, powerful um, uh, connotation, right? And it doesn't really tell the story of what was really going on when you call it the independence. Even though, like the country, yes, the country, we know that they didn't want slavery. Everybody in the whole island, like they were like, okay, we're done with slavery, right? And the unity that was going on, like I feel like when you put the word independence on it, it tells a different story. I
Well,
guess.
no, it's just for the sense that the Dominican Republic just didn't exist before that. If you want to place a date when the country was founded, it was there. So it, I don't think why it's controversial. The country just didn't exist before that. So that's when the country was born.
But they weren't so after we separated, um they weren't free for that long, up until when Spain came back.
Yeah, no, that is true. But here's the thing: the issue with the during the period of unification, the 22 years of unification, you're right. Most of the non-white part of the population were in favor. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have surveys at the time. We're not.
Mhm.
Remember, we're not talking about democracy here.
Yeah.
And the people that were in favor, they were most likely the big landowners and the people with their own private army. That say, you know what? That's how it used to work at the time. It's kind of like a feudal system where you have the big lord here with weapons and his private army, and a bunch of peasants that do whatever he said. He said basically. So it's important that when we know we're talking about the people that were in favor of this or that other, we're not talking about a democracy. But it's easy to guess that most people that were black, when they were in favor. I mean, even if I don't ask them, I know if I tell them, I'm going to get you equality, I'm going to abolish slavery. Yeah, I want that. You don't have to have a survey that say that. You can guess because they know what it was like for them under Spanish rule and what was waiting if the French took over. So they decided, okay, yeah, let's do it Haiti. The problem was that, and this is something that people tend to not to focus because they only talk about the racial aspect. You're
Yeah.
talking about two peoples in the sense that the way the economy functions and the way the system worked in Haiti was very different from the way it functioned in the Dominican side of the border.
Yeah.
Most of the economy, well, economy because it wasn't that much really in the Dominican side of the border was basically cattle ranching.
Yes.
That gave you enough to eat, but it didn't generate a lot of money.
Yeah.
The Haitian government, they want to transform the economy into a plantation-based economy
Hmm.
in order to produce money to pay the debt that they acquired in 1825 with France.
Yeah.
A lot of people, that's an importance because the Dominicans were not. Hey, wait a second, you didn't tell us about that. Okay,
Yeah.
that was the first quick problem when the union happened.
Yeah.
People.
But again, even that, even the fact that, like, Haiti wanted to do that, but that wasn't like the average Haitian. That was like the elite Haitians.
The government. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. No, people understood that. And to his credit, the Haitian government tried to change. They didn't impose it. It's not that they drove the weapon and said, okay, no, you're going to do this. No, they tried to change the law.
Mhm.
And they tried, and the Dominican people, no, we don't want that. And to their credit, they didn't impose it.
Yeah.
So it was the Haitian government. You're right. It was the Haitian government to the president was Jean-Pierre Bourdieu,
Hmm.
who wasn't president, I think, until 1843, 1 year before independence. He wanted to do that, but he didn't impose it. Another thing that people do not to focus, the Haitian army that was in the Dominican side of the border, they committed a lot of abuses because it's not like the army today. For example, when the U.S. send troops to Afghanistan, they get a salary and they get food and whatever. No, they send the soldiers to the Dominican side of the border. Okay, you live off the land, basically find food wherever you can, and that usually means taking the food, the crop from people that were basically starving
Yeah.
because the Dominican Republic at that time was not was known for being very poor. So if you have soldiers, they need to eat, and they are told go to this town and get whatever food you can get. It basically means taking it from people that need them, and they start seeing the Haitian. Okay, and this is not the equality that was promised to us. Yes, okay, another slave, unequal under the law, but this guy is taking my food and leaving my family hungry.
Yeah.
So that were down pretty quickly. So even to the point that even at the start of the independence movement, most of the people were against Haitian because of that. And but you're right in the sense that the thing that people don't know, even when there were abuses and the Haitian government found out about it, they took action. People don't know that, but those are details that get lost in the history.
But I think what for me is just interesting that even like if you Google it, you Google when is Dominican independence, like they don't mention the independence from Spain. Like you have to go into like Dominican like resources to see like what days they celebrate, and then you'll find it. Like their independence is known as like their main independence is from Haiti.
Mhm.
And to me that's a little bit weird. A little bit
But,
weird
but
because
again, that's what happens. The country didn't exist before 1844. I
I
mean,
know, I know that, I know that. However, it's just a little bit weird considering that like they were then taken back by Spain. And when you think about it, the rest of Latin America celebrates their independence from Spain. So it's
no, no,
it
that's not
like
true. That's not true.
okay,
Uruguay celebrates independence from Brazil. Panama celebrates independence from Colombia.
okay. But
So
even when you think about those, like why would you celebrate your independence from those countries? Because when I think about like independence, I think about who were our colonizers.
mhm,
Who are the people that came here, brought all these people over here, have
mhm,
made us mix? Like that's what I think about independence.
mhm. No, no,
Like everything,
and it's a
every,
valid point. It's a very valid point, and it's good
and
that we're talking about this.
I think that everything that happened in between is just a result of colonization, right? And
Mhm.
it's like for me, like if you Google what's the independence and that's what they say, instead of saying Spain, like instead of that being the bigger celebration, I don't know. I think a little bit that's a little bit rooted in anti-blackness, and even like you said, the country that celebrates it from Brazil, like Brazil is a very highly black populated country, so like why? Like to me, it's a little bit weird. It kind of seems like it's a little bit of a glorification in a sense of Spanish when you decide to when your independence celebration is bigger from Haiti than from Spain.
No,
Um,
I mean, I will argue with that. The independence from Spain is celebrated in August 16.
yes.
That's the day. That's the also was picked. That's the day when the transition of government happens. When there are elections, the transition to the new government happen on that day, and it's a
Mhm.
national holiday,
Yeah.
and it is widely celebrated. I mean, we have a province called Restauración.
Yeah.
General Gregorio Luperón,
Yes.
the main one of the main military commanders, he's a hero. You can find a statue of him everywhere.
Yeah.
In
I
my
know.
hometown, there is a big statue of him.
And
So
there's a
there is
school.
a town named after him. There is even a bay named after him.
There's a
So,
school in New York City. There's a school in New York City named after him as well.
but there's a reason. There's
Yeah.
a reason why this guy is a hero because of the war. And I will argue that war was more significant than the actual independence because when in 1844 the people say, okay, yeah, okay, we don't want to be more with Haiti. That's the only thing that they knew.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with this Trinitarius guy who created they created this Dominican Republic thing, and let's see what happens. Let's get rid of Haiti first, and let's see what happens.
Mhm.
The desire of the people from to form this new nation. Yes, there were a lot of people say, okay, yes, let's form the Dominican Republic, and there was war against Haiti for 1844 until 1856, like 12,
Mhm.
12 years when that was the last, but they were still fearful of an Haitian invasion. And that's when Pedro Santana, who was one of the main military commanders of
Yeah.
he was the strong man during all that period. He was the one, he sent one of his ambassadors to Spain first looking for a protectorate. We're gonna, I don't know, lease you a base over here if you give us guns, whatever, and you protect us from Haiti. And that turns into a conversation. Okay, let's no, why don't you just take over? And he was the one who arranged that. And as soon as he did it in March 1861. In May, not even 2 months later, the war against Spain started. People started rebelling. Initially, it went really bad for the Patriots because a lot of them were killed.
Yeah.
Even Francisco de Rosario Sanchez, who was one of the main founders of the country, he was killed in June of that year fighting against the Spanish rule.
Yeah.
And the war lasted until 1865.
Mm.
And Spain, they have like 50,000 troops. They had troops even from Cuba and Puerto Rico.
Oh,
And they have like 12,000 Dominicans fighting on their side. They lost. They finally said, you know what? We're not going. It was kind of like they call a war of attrition. They didn't. The Spanish said, okay, decided, okay, we're not going to win with these people because the Dominicans fought a guerrilla war, and it's significant because the country was very poor. If union with Spain, yeah, it would have been economically good for the country, but even that didn't convince the people. No, we don't want this. We don't want union with Spain, especially when it started and the Spanish came in and saw that most of the people were black, right? And the Spanish were very intolerant at that time. The Dominican society was more liberal in the sense that they allowed Protestant church to exist in the country. When the Spanish came at that period, one of the first things they did, they closed the Protestant church because no, we're Catholic here.
Yeah.
And most of the priesthood in the Dominican Republic at the time were people of color.
Yeah.
And they lost their the Spanish didn't want it. I mean, a black priest, what is this? No.
Yeah.
So the Dominican fought tooth and nails against them. And that date is significant. And just like I said, just look at Luperon and how revered he's in the country.
Yeah.
By the way, the airport in Puerto Plata is named after him. So
Oh,
I argue again that date is not significant. In Santiago, my hometown, there is this big monument that, by the way, Trujillo built for himself. He built it in his honor. But as soon as he was killed, they renamed it and called it the Monument to the Heroes of the Restoration.
mhm.
So that is a very significant date, and a lot of people don't know that. But
Yeah.
there is the impression that it's not significant, but it is. It's as significant as independence from Haiti. We just have two Independence Days, okay? And I don't think it's fair to say, oh, which one is more important. Both are. It's like mom and dad. Which one is more important? Well, I like both.
I don't know. I'm gonna stick to it's a little weird. It's a little weird considering like what was going on and how the people felt at the time.
Mhm.
Um I don't know. I just don't think that it should be held at the same standard because it makes it seem, in my opinion, it makes it seem like what happened between the Haitians was the same thing that happened between um, the Spanish. And
Mhm.
I just don't feel like you can compare because the only reason why what happened between the Haitians and Dominicans is because of what the Spanish and the French did.
Mhm.
So I just don't think that I think that it's a little bit rooted in anti-blackness. That's just my opinion,
Mhm.
because I don't think that they hold the same weight. I don't think they hold the same weight. But
Mhm.
Uli, I can't keep going. But I'm gonna thank you so much for coming on to my channel and sharing all of your knowledge. I am gonna be posting the links that you shared under my other video under this video so people have access to them. Um, and I guess my come my like conclusion from all of it is that I do agree that there is a lot of corruption in the Dominican Republic, and there is, pockets of xenophobia and anti-blackness and anti-Haitianism within the system um, that sometimes do, um, you know, move the corruption as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope to
Yeah,
have you.
thank you for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to finally talk to you. I mean, we have participated in other stream, and you know how it is. I mean, you were saying something, hey, that's interesting, and I want to comment, and I
Yeah,
never get the chance to. So, so I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you in this forum, and
yeah. No, I'm so happy that I have you on, had you on because Uli, I anytime we are on a live together, I like absolutely respect you because I think that out of all the other men that always participate, you are always so respectful. Um, you you don't go off of your emotions. Um, you don't act like a little child. A lot of the men that do join the lives, they need a little help.
trust
But
me, there was a time there was an Ulises like that that used to go over his emotions, but you know what happens? Let me show you. You know,
yes, yeah, he's so cute. He's such a
yeah,
cute.
you grow old, you have kids, and you want to be a you want to be a better man.
Yeah,
I don't want him to do the things I used to do when
yeah. No, he's
I was
so
younger and had more hair.
um, but yes, thank you so much, Uli, for coming onto my channel, and I hope to have you back soon.
Well,
Um, and
thank
thank
you.
you.
Anytime. I love the dynamic. I love the being able to talk about these topics. So anytime. And thank you for having me here.
And thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. All right.